Alex, the interpreter, was with Andre Olio and his assistant. And he cut a promo with more subtitles for Andre, whether he's speaking English or Spanish. The Spanish interpreter for Penthouse is trying to interview the Hispanic wrestler who's speaking English and Spanish, and you can't understand either one, so they got subtitles, but he's looking for the death triangle, which is Penthouse, Felix, and Pac, that Alex is affiliated with sometimes, except everybody's looking for Pac because since he lives in England and he can't get back and forth easily, he's been missing, and Felix is apparently still injured from one of the many times that he misses some of that shit he does and lands on his fucking head. So everybody's looking for the death triangle. But now they're going to have this heel looking for these other heels or something.
Maybe he wants to be friends.
Next up, the second title match out of 2 matches so far on this show that you indicated before is for a title that doesn't even exist, the FTW title. The history of the FTW title in All Elite Wrestling is when Taz came in and formed Team Taz, he presented the FTW title, which, of course, as we all know, is from ECW 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, and stands for Fuck the World. That's what the title he established in his own title in ECW. And they made a big deal out of it then. He defended it, I think, once several months ago, and then sometimes he carries it around and sometimes he doesn't, but we really haven't heard much about it since then, because Team Taz has been in the middle of losing everything that they've been involved in and or splitting up acrimoniously. Did I get that history right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, so now the FTW title is on the line, where Brian Cage is going to defend it against Ricky Starks, a teammate in Team Taz, but Brian Cage has been lately not having any fucking patience for the rest of Team Taz and wanting to do things the right way. Of course, Starks has just come back from the last time he wrestled on their television, and Adam Page broke his fucking neck. It was Adam Page, right? Gave him the German suplex, he landed on his head, broke his neck, and popped up and didn't sell it and finished the match.
And boy, did I think he broke his neck a few times early in this match, too.
I was about to say, should he be wrestling so soon, especially against Brian Cage? Within the first 15 seconds, Brian Cage fucked up a hip toss. He got him up in the air, and then it looked like instead of a regular hip toss, he was going to do one of those things where they turn the guy over and he lands on a knee or whatever, but he couldn't figure out what he was doing, and so he brought him up in the hip toss, and then he just kind of, oh shit, he lost him, and he kind of cushioned his fall to the ground, and they went down in a heap. That was in 15 seconds. Brian Cage is robotic. He has no facial expressions. He goes in a matter-of-fact manner from one move to another like he's memorized it, which, good reason for that, because he has. And he looks great. He's a beast. He's got that great physique, and every time he goes into spots, he looks like he is memorizing or has memorized what he's doing, and he goes from one thing to another just like that. There's no spontaneity. There's no reaction like, oh, shit, when somebody counters something. He knows exactly what's going to happen because it's all set up. And he goes through it by rote, move by move. No passion in it. He walks through it like a preset routine. They did picture-in-picture during the break. And I normally don't watch because it's so small anyway, right? But I had to back up a little bit because as soon as they came back from the picture-in-picture on the other side of the break, they were already into a move where they both fell in a heap. And so I had to go back and figure it out, and I couldn't figure out what they were trying to do, but they fell in a heap. Did you catch that coming right back from the break, or were you paying close enough attention?
I didn't see what they were trying to do, but I will say, in general, this match was the biggest expose of Brian Cage that I've seen. He was not good here in any sense of the word.
And it can't be. Starks is fantastic. Starks has personality. Starks can work. He's had good matches. We've praised his promos. Yeah. He was working his ass off here.
And by the way, he
didn't have anything to work with.
He was working his ass off to the point where the fans decided they were going to go with the heel and the heel stable instead of the babyface.
Yes. And well, but here's another thing. Yes, we'll get to that in a second. But oh God, did you see the part where Starks, he shoulder blocked Cage? Cage went back into the ropes. He hit him with a shoulder block in the gut. And then Starks had to bend down and literally put himself in a headlock so that he could shoot Brian Cage off because Cage was just standing there. And as you mentioned, the people are because Starks has energy and personality, and people are liking him anyway. And they've completely, by switching Brian Cage as a secondary role, as a stooge and a muscle man in a group, is fine. But they're breaking the wrong one out of this pack. They went on the floor forever. Nobody was counted out. And the reason why that they constantly do this in every match and bury the referee at every single time is because they are sitting in the back, setting up their match, and they're setting shit up with no thought as to how long it takes. Because you can see them going from one thing to another. They're not improvising a lot of this shit on the floor. They have clearly decided that's what they're going to do. They just never figure how long it's going to take, and they don't have, if they do have a responsible agent, then they're obviously not listening to them, because any responsible agent would say, okay, wait a minute. You've done this, you're still out on the floor. You've been out there for a minute and a half. So there's just no quality control. Anyway, they did more back and forth. There was a nice deal where Starks got out from under Brian Cage and picked him up when he was standing on the ropes and powerbombed him for a 2 count, and they actually sold it. And that was a nice pop. And then Starks goes to grab the FTW belt that he's going to hit Brian Cage with when Brian Cage turns around. But Hobbs and Hook are at ringside, the other members of Team Taz, and Taz is on color. And as Starks goes for the belt and goes turn around like he's going to hit the guy, Hobbs jerks the belt away from Ricky Starks. And Starks looks shocked. And then Cage catches him with a sloppy F5 on a man that's just coming back from a fucking broken neck and gets a 2 count. So now they're turning on Starks, except then Hook draws the referee. Cage goes for a clothesline. Starks ducks the clothesline, and when Cage gets to the ropes, because of his momentum, Hobbs takes the belt he's just jerked away from Ricky Starks and hits Brian Cage over the head with it. And then Starks hits a spear on him and pins Cage 1, 2, 3. How did this make any sense? Starks goes to cheat. Hobbs stops Starks from cheating, potentially costing him the match. He didn't know, Hobbs would have no way of knowing that Starks was going to kick out of the F5 that Cage gave him. And then the very next movement, Hobbs takes the belt that he pulled away from Starks so that Starks couldn't hit Cage with it and clocks Cage over the head with it himself. What the fuck is going on here?
It makes no sense. But the crowd loved it. Big pop for Ricky Starks and the heel team of Team Taz.
Yes, they cheered the heels out of the building. I mean, anything that makes Cage look like the schlub he is okay with me, but this made no sense whatsoever. The guy's own team tried to stop him from winning, almost cost him the match, and then immediately turn around and cheat for him so he will win. It sounded like some shit Stain would come up with after a dinner at Taco Bell.